Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special episode of Haunt Talk. In today's episode, we're going to... I hate everything. We're going to be talking about kind of like the origins of haunted attractions in general, I guess. Yeah. So kind of like, like the different types of haunted attractions are, and kind of like a little bit of history. Probably not a deep dive. We were thinking like maybe doing a deep dive in the future, but like we just didn't want to. So
this was very spur of the moment. So we just wanted to give you guys some more interesting information before the actual season starts.
Right, before we actually are able to do lots of like haunt reviews and stuff like that. So we thought like, it'd be kind of interesting because there's like so many different types of haunted attractions. Some, we've actually never got to experience ourselves. And just like maybe a little bit of like origin stuff and kind of like also maybe like how we feel like the haunt industry has become what it is today a little bit. Yeah. But before we get started, just want to remind everyone that we do have our merch line. I'm not wearing it today, but we do have, and I always have the thing come up on the screen as well. But we have our shirts, which, have our Haunt Talk thing. It has the pumpkins that flanked us for the last 2 seasons. So it says Haunt Talk on the front, and then on the back, it says Haunt Talk in Japanese scroll going down the back. Help support us a lot. We also have a Patreon. So if you want to join that helps us. And if we get enough, you'll be exclusive content. We do send out gifts usually around the October season to our Patreon members. But that being said, yeah. So, kind of looking back on it, it seems like when was like the first like thing that could be kind of like considered a haunted house?
Well, from what I gathered was that people would actually set up little like haunted basements in their houses during the Great Depression. As far back as that.
Which
they also had like it said like late 19th century around that time, so like late 1800s, 1900s, stuff like that. Which it's quite a while ago.
Right, yeah. Because they were even saying like, some of the origins go back to like, which I think that's a bit of a stretch, but like back in Egyptian times, like they were saying.
Yeah, well, because if you think about it, okay, so Egyptian pyramids, a lot of the pyramids were booby-trapped or had mazes and like doors that opened on their own and bugs and snakes and things like that.
So obviously it's not a thing. It's not a thing you would want to attend.
Right. Like the article I read, they were like, people weren't lining up to go see the Egyptian pyramids, to see where this pharaoh was killed. This was basically a deterrent for thieves to not steal the pharaoh's riches and stuff like that. So the only person that really saw this was, the thieves if they got in there. They also had Romans did that as well because they loved doing labyrinths with like minotaurs and things like that in them and different monsters and stuff like that. So
it's kind of interesting to think about it that way too, because like obviously again these aren't something you'd want to attend, but haunted houses that we know and today are kind of these things, but just like safe versions of them.
Yeah.
Which, I think something else we want to talk about a little bit later is kind of like why we believe that people like being scared so much. Yeah. But, yeah, so upon research, I've seen from a couple sites that it seems like 1915 is when they kind of like credit one of the first, like, if you want to call it like pro-haunt, like, for money like, charged, and that was...
it was... Orton and Spooner Haunted House in England, and it was actually called a ghost house.
Right.
Yeah.
And it says, I guess, it was powered by steam, and it still exists in the Hollycomb Steam Collection, so it looks like there's still some, like, stuff about it. So, that's really interesting, and I think, like, a lot of things kind of inspired modern-day haunted houses, like Madame Tussauds, right?
Yeah, Madame Tussauds has a House of Wax.
The Chamber of Horror, which is still in operations today.
Yeah. Because, like, she had a lot of emphasis on, like, people being beheaded or tortured. More modern times, it's, like, movie monsters and creatures and stuff like that. Serial killers, things like that. Yeah, it didn't really become like a big cultural icon though until the Haunted Mansion
Yeah, so that
in
was like
Disneyland.
1969.
Giggity.
Because, I mean, there were things obviously before this, but that I think is what really kind of started such a big boom in haunted houses more along the lines of what you've seen today.
Yeah.
Because the JCs and stuff like that, they would do like haunted houses, but it was mainly just dark mazes, more of like the things where it's like you put your hand in a bowl of spaghetti and it's worms, you know.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, which I mean, I feel that's still done to this day, but more like on a home level.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I was a kid having those kind of like parties where you put your hand in. Like,
we used to do the making a monster story is the most popular of it, and every year when we had a Halloween party, we would put on that, and I would be tasked with peeling grapes and getting spaghetti ready and all this other stuff and liver and octopus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so gross.
And it's surprising because like Knott's Berry Farm was also one of like the first places to do like a big like Halloween attraction. 1973 is how long Knott's Berry Farm has been doing some iteration of
Not Scary
Scary Farm is what it's known as today, you know, and it is like regarded as outside of like Halloween Horror Nights as one of like the best. We have not been there. We have been to Knott's Berry Farm actually for the first time this past summer, just California though. We did not go like for Halloween. I would love to go to it. If you haven't seen anything for Knott's Scary Farm, I implore you to go. Like, there's tons of vloggers that go there. Go watch some walkthroughs.
Yeah.
Ordinary Adventures is a good channel for that because the footage is actually really good. Because some of these vloggers, like, they film with, like, I don't know, a GoPro, and, like, it's just blackness, and that's all you see. But their channel, they film with really good stuff. But, yeah, it's just kind of crazy to me, like, how popular it's really become. And I feel like, you know, as a kid, it was a thing that I went to, like, even in the 90s. But like I feel like in the last like couple decades, it's really, really like you see so many now.
So many. From what I saw on an article, it said that there is up to like 1,200 haunted houses in the United States just alone, which is a lot. Most of them are in Ohio too, which is really weird.
Well, there's Ohio has a lot of them. Ohio and PA have a ton. California has a lot.
Yeah.
But California, you know, is also like a pretty big mecca for like entertainment and stuff like that. Because I mean, there's a lot of like things in California. A lot of like interesting like haunts and stuff like that. But and I mean, one of the like oldest haunted houses that is still running today is the Akron Haunted Schoolhouse, because this is their 50th year, which we talk of, right? Yeah, 50th year. I don't know of any other thing that's close that's been running that long.
No, they're one of the original haunted houses.
Yeah, because they were one of like in that like, because again, haunted houses existed, but when like with the theming and the scene after scene, they were one of the first to really start doing that.
Yeah, because like the original designer of the schoolhouse, he actually came up with a lot of the ideas that are in the house today and that people use in other houses, like the giant. That was one of his things.
Yep.
I know that Distortion actually brought that back and is making their own version of it now. But he was one of the first people that actually came up with that idea.
And I'm having a hard time remembering his last name. It's Don something.
I am too. I'm like, I can't think of what it is.
Which we have the whole documentary made a few years ago where we do the Haunted Schoolhouse, and it was before it was. It still had a lot of more classic things because since Factory bought them out, they've updated a lot of things. The place did kind of need some updating in some regards, but you can see like the giant and stuff in that video.
Yeah.
Haunt Behind the Scare. It's free on YouTube. You can go watch it. It's from like 2015. When did we make that? Was it 2015? It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
Oh, and something fun, because I see Kim has them over here. Something fun that we thought we might start doing in videos is we got this thing from Spear. We might do it for others, but have a little trivia question per episode. So, Kim, go ahead and pull a card out at random, and I know that you can just Google it, but it's more fun as you're watching the video. Leave a comment for the answer of the trivia question, and we might do prizes later on. For this one, it's just for fun to see if you know the answer. Some of them are a little stupid simple, so long as it's not stupid simple.
Okay.
Oh.
What magician died on Halloween?
There you go. And now it is multiple choice. I think for the purpose of this, we'll let you figure it out. Just comment the answer below. If you get it right, I'll praise you in the comment section.
Yay.
That's the only reward you get for this one, but I'll praise you for it. Maybe we'll shout you out in the next video. Whatever you'd like to see, if you like the idea of trivia questions and then some like little reward for it once, like kind of thing, let us know if that's something that you're interested in. But I think really what we'll do now is we kind of want to talk about like the different types of haunted attractions, and like obviously most people know the different types, but we just kind of thought it would be fun to discuss them.
Yes.
So the first thing we'll talk about, which is the obvious most popular one, is haunted house / mansion / castle.
Yeah. This is your most traditional one. It's inside some sort of building. Yeah, usually it's like some sort of like spooky looking old Victorian house or a big old mansion or even a castle. I mean, some places have that, you know. And yeah, it's your very basic one. A lot of times they're very themed towards being that very classic haunted house, mansion.
A la Disney Haunted Mansion.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the most popular, obviously. And you see that everywhere. Like, everyone's got, like, a haunted house, at least.
Right. And there's so many different, like, variations you can kind of do on that. Because, I mean, also, like, now it's not on the list, but, like, something like a slaughter. Like, I think pretty much anything that's, like, indoors could be considered a haunted house, even if it's a slaughterhouse. But I do like the fact that the actual traditional haunted house theme, like, just meaning, like, an actual, like, theme to a haunted house, can be so varied. Because, I mean, like, again, you look at, like, the different haunted mansions for Disney. I mean, the one in California is, that one, you know, is themed more to, like, a house on the bayou. Because it is really close to their, like, what do they call it? Like, the New Orleans, like, themed area.
Yeah, it's in the New Orleans area, so they have it themed for that reason.
Yep, so that one's more of, like, a spooky house in the bayou, where the one at Magic Kingdom, I guess it's, like, more Victorian, would you say?
Yeah, because it's in, like, the colonial era. And then, the Phantom Manor, which is the one in Paris, that one is actually themed towards, like, frontier town. Because that's what the theme is for that area. Right. So, I mean, each one has its own, like, it's a haunted house, but it's got its own, like, identity.
Because there's so many ways you can go with it. You can go, like, dilapidated, you know, haunted house. You can go to one that's a little bit more innate, like that kind of thing. I mean, there's, like, really cool takes on it, like Fright Farm does, more of, like, a haunted mansion kind of, like, an actual mansion kind of theme, less house, less mansion, and I kind of like that, at least the outside, you know. And most haunted houses, not all, they will variation in theme. They might have some part that's actually, like, themed to haunted house, but then inside they will switch through things, like, you know, your classic laser swamps, that kind of thing. I really like, even though it is the most used theme, one of my favorite themes is just a really well-made haunted house themed haunt that just sticks to that haunted house theme.
Spooky ghosts and skeletons and
I just like traditional Halloween, I guess. So
suits of armor, things like that. You know, you're more traditional looking, like this is a haunted house, this is a haunted mansion kind of thing. Yeah.
Curious, like, for viewers too, what is your favorite theme of a haunt? Like, what is, like, when you go to any kind of haunt, no matter what it is, what's your favorite theme? You know, is it slaughterhouse? Is it aliens? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
What is it? But yes, I mean, obviously, that is probably the most popular one, is that. And then we have our next one that I'd say I'd probably say this is second most popular of what you see, which is a haunted trail, or made of forest, but a haunted trail.
Haunted trail.
So, you know, these ones also can, like, vary a lot, because I would say a lot of haunted trails do have haunted houses as part of the attraction.
Yes. Yeah. We've been to quite a few where, like, you walk along and yes, there's some scares along the way, people hiding behind trees and facades and stuff like that. And then you actually get, like, little, like, shacks that you go into, and they have, like, some sort of scene going on in there, you know, and they're usually not that big. They're, like, the size of, like,
usually
those little sheds that you get in your yard, you know. They're not very big, but they, like, you know, you go into it, you get your little scene, you go back on the trail, and you go find some more spooky stuff up in the woods.
Because, and I mean, haunted trails have both big benefits and sort of downsides. So obviously for, like, the people that are making it, obviously I think a big benefit of the haunted trail is, since you're outside, you have the ability to do things like pyrotechnics, bigger scares, people maybe on bungee cords and stuff like that, and it's just, you're able to, I guess, you have a little more control over like the size and scope of things a little bit when it's just outside.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the bad thing is, especially depending on where your trail is, you know, if it's a rainy October, you might not get to.
Yeah, you might not get to open.
You might not get to open certain days. There's this, and I want to get. Oh, that's another place we need to get back to. Oh my gosh! See, we recently did the. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. Of where we plan on going for October, and we've since done that. Then thought of multiple other places that we do need to get to, and the one I just thought of when saying this is Trail of Nightmares, which is like I don't know if it's technically Mansfield, but it's very close to Mansfield if it's not in Mansfield. Because we went there. I think it was. I don't think it was you that I went with. I went there and walked through the whole thing, and then we've tried to go there a couple times and just got rained out now.
Yeah.
The one time we got rained out while on the trail, and then I think the other time it started raining on our way there.
Yeah.
So we didn't end up doing it. I think that was the night we ended up doing like Mohican Haunted Schoolhouse or something instead. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'd like to check that place out because I don't know if it's really good or not anymore. I remember it being really good, but this was like 5+ years ago.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago.
But yeah, so I mean that just goes to show you there that like, you know, the haunted trail thing can be really good, but then there's also times where it's like
you have to
the weather just kind of
the elements are not in your favor when it comes to that.
Yeah. Also, like haunted trails can be a little bit more labor intensive than haunted houses. Like Markov's Haunted Forest was like a lot of fun, but like you really feel like you get a workout like on that one because you know you are dealing with the terrain and stuff like that. So they're not like as accessible, I guess, as haunted houses have the ability to be.
Yeah.
Then of course, one of my favorites is haunted hayrides.
Yeah.
I wish there was more of these.
I do too.
There's just not. Now, haunted hayrides are usually less scary just because of the fact that it's harder to get jump scared on a haunted hayride because it's not by default very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Because you're on a hayride and you're moving. Yeah, I really wish there was just more of these, and I feel like because I grew up on haunted hayrides because I was too scared to go into haunted houses when I was a kid, so my parents would take me to haunted hayrides a lot, and I really liked them, but I was freaked out by haunted houses, and I do think that haunted hayrides are a great like gateway to kind of like get your children into haunts.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's actually quite a few in the Cleveland area that I definitely do recommend to people. Who have kids that want to start out on haunted houses.
I don't know if I say quite a few, but there's a couple.
Yeah, like in this area. Yeah, there's a few. But, because, yeah, you're in like a large group on a hay wagon. Again, you're not going to get that close proximity scare. You are going to get some scares because sometimes, things happen that, you don't expect and stuff like that. But it is like a very good way to like get somebody like, with their foot in the door, so to speak, of going to haunted houses.
Yeah, and I feel like for haunted hayrides, like the most important thing for those is they need to have like good scenes. Yeah. Because that's like the thing that I think that when you go to a haunted hayride, you're not going on it, at least most people aren't going on it expecting to be like insanely scared. They're going on it expecting more of like an elaborate, cool, spooky experience.
Yeah.
Probably the favorite one, like I would say like that was like the main focus was the hayride was I'd probably say Wilmington Haunted Hollow from last year.
Yeah.
Which technically isn't a haunted hayride. It's on a bus. Which, there is a high-speed chase that you get to go on in the bus, and that is probably one of the probably one of the scariest moments we had all of last year because it was so unexpected. I think it was a semi that chased you. Yeah.
2 semis on either side, and they just like sandwiched us, and it was just so terrifying because they literally were against the hay wagon, and like if you would put a finger out you would have lost it.
Yeah, it was insane, and like most of it's like a slow ride through the woods, and all of a sudden there's that. We have a whole review on Wilmington Haunted Hollow and the haunted houses that are there. The big star is the ride though, and then of course there's haunted houses that combine all 3 of these. One of our favorites always being Rich's Fright Farm, because it is a haunted hayride that drops you off into, I guess, a haunted house, but it's cool because there's the haunted mansion, but then it interweaves between trail and a bunch of smaller haunted houses, plus the giant haunted house in the middle. I haven't personally been to another place that has a setup like that you're constantly going in and out of a giant haunted house while also going to all these different things that are on the property.
Yeah.
Such a cool idea. Again, check out the review for that. That place is amazing, and they always open early too.
Yes.
But now I guess we're going to get into some more of the, I would guess you'd say, more niche, more unique types of haunts.
Yeah. So, one of them is the haunted ship.
Mm-hmm. And it's
There's
exactly what you think it is.
It's exactly what you think of it. It's a haunted house on a big ship. Most notable is USS Nightmare.
Around us, yeah. I would
Around
say
us,
most notable Queen Mary.
Most notable is Queen Mary out in California. And it is a haunted ship. And yeah, they basically just put the mazes inside this big ship that's on the water. I mean, obviously it's not floating away or anything like that. I think there is one though that does that, where they like actually leave the dock.
That would be really cool. I don't know.
Yeah, and you're terrified for like an hour, and then they take you back to the dock and drop you off. Experience. Yeah, I saw videos for it like a few years ago. I don't remember where it's at exactly, but it looked pretty interesting.
Because the Queen Mary looks amazing. We haven't done that one. It's a bucket list, but it's all the way in California. But eventually we will. We do want to do Knott's Scary Farm and all of that. And I don't think those are close to each other at all. But it's in the same state. California's really long, though. And we would like to do Universal Hollywood Halloween Horror Nights at some point. But yeah, I mean, like the whole haunted ship thing, like the only one we have really done is USS Nightmare. And it just is kind of cool. Like the fact that you're on the ship, it's kind of like, and I guess this could be almost its own thing, but it would fall under the haunted house categories, like the haunted jails, like Mansfield. It's a very similar atmosphere to that, because it's like you're on this thing that has all this history, but it's being repurposed as, like a theatrical attraction.
Yeah.
So you have like the best of like the old creepy atmosphere, because I'm pretty sure the USS Nightmare is supposed to be haunted. I'm almost positive it is, just like these haunted prisons. But like there's certain points where you can look down and just like see the water, and you're like, oh, I'm on, well, I think in this case like a river, but yeah, let us know. I don't know if any I don't know of a lot of haunted ship attractions. I know there's more than just these two. Yeah. But I know there's another one in California. I don't think it's a real ship, but it's like themed to a ship, and it looks like a giant ghost ship that actually just reopened. It's on one of the boardwalks. Oh, yeah. Because I just saw a vlog go to, and it looked really cool.
Yeah, it's like a pirate ship or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah, that one looks really cool. But yeah, haunted ships, have you been to any? What did you think of them? Because the one we've been to, we really like. And I would like to get back to it. I doubt we'll be able to go to it this year, but I would like to go back to USS Nightmare because it was fun. Yes. And I guess this is another classic one, is the haunted theme parks.
Yes. So that's basically when an amusement park like Cedar Point or Knott's Berry Farm or any of the other parks decide, hey, why don't we put a bunch of haunted houses in our amusement park? And so that becomes a theme park. So you can spend the whole night just bouncing from different haunted houses throughout this park. And like with like most of them, they have haunted houses, they have scare zones. So like there's like almost very, very little safe space, so to speak.
I would say this one, too, is probably one of the most varying in qualities.
Yes.
Because, like, you have Universal Studios, which is, like, they have all the money in the world, and it's amazing. And then you have, like, something like Cedar Points, which is kind of middling. Like, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Yeah. And then you have, like, when we went to Kings Islands, for example, I didn't think it was very good at all.
No.
I would also say there's two different types of, as they call them, scream parks. There is, like, that, where it's, like, a reskin, a takeover of like a Cedar Point or a Universal, but then there's also ones like Land of Illusion, where it's not really a theme park to be, and I think there might be a water park there or something, but like a scream park is generally one that has like multiple haunted houses, other entertainment to do, and then you wait in multiple lines for those houses.
Which is nice, especially if you only have like the budget to go to like one haunted house a year. If you pick a scream park, they usually have different themes for their haunted houses, so you're able to go to like 4 or 5 different kind of haunted houses in one night for one price, which is, nice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is like a good point, and that's why I think they're so popular. The only bad thing about scream parks is, unfortunately with some of them, is they focus more on quantity and not as much on quality. And so there'll be like 1 or 2 good ones, and then, there's a certain one that I don't want to mention that's in Cleveland that we couldn't review, but there just happens to be 7 haunted houses generally. And now we haven't been to it for quite a while, but when I had gone to it in the past, it was always like, Yeah. It's like, usually it's better to focus on one good experience Because I mean, like, it's just hard unless you have a huge budget to make multiple haunted houses
Yeah.
really good. And that's why something like Cedar Point, for example, like they usually only like have one at most new house a year.
Yeah.
And they leave the other ones kind of up year round. But the ones where they have to tear everything down and like build multiple new haunted houses, I mean, it's a lot of work to do. So that's why I'm like, why not just focus on making one good thing? But it's more appealing to the general public, more bang for your buck, if you will. But if you have like 5 haunted houses that take 2 minutes to complete, why not just have one 15-20 minute house? That's,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really the same amount of time. You're just there a lot longer because you're waiting in 5+ lines.
Yeah.
But I don't really know if that's because we're kind of going off the Wikipedia article as well, and it says dark maze and chain maze. I feel like dark maze / chain maze is generally part of a haunted house.
Usually they're not by themselves. I mean, we've been to a few Scream parks where that was one of the themes for one of the little houses, but yeah.
Because I mean, like, I guess like some places will do this as an upcharge. Like the biggest one I know of is 100 Acre Manor.
Yeah, they do have the dark maze.
Have a dark maze as an upcharge, but typically this is part of it. It's probably one of our least favorite things. Now it can be effective because if you had like scare actors hiding in the dark, like, and you can't see anything, you're trying to find your way out, and all of a sudden someone, like, especially the ones, and I can't believe not more places do this, but they have like a light up mask, and all of a sudden there's just a light in front of your face, like a creepy face. So scary. If you're going to do a dark maze, incorporate that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Probably one of the biggest scares that I've ever had. And I don't remember if you were at this one or not, but it was the Barberton Piggery thing.
I never got to go to that one. I was very sad that I did not.
Yeah, this was many years ago, and I don't think they don't do it anymore.
No.
But what a creative scare. So it's like that. So you're in a dark maze. So you're in like a dark maze, and basically all of a sudden it stops being a maze and you don't realize it, but you're in a big open room and they have a whole car in there, and all of a sudden the headlights turn on and they blare the horn. So you're in this like a confined dark maze, and then as soon as you enter this big room, you think you're still in a dark maze, there's a car in the middle of the room blaring its horn at you. That is probably one of the scares that has made my soul leave my body the most in all the haunts we've been to, because it's just the last thing you're expecting when you're in a claustrophobic dark maze is all of a sudden a full car to be in front of you. I have seen them before where there's like just the front of a car and it has a similar effect, but there's something about this that just, I don't know, it really got us good. But the rest of that haunt was very okay. But I hate it when a place is closed down though, I guess, because like even if it's just okay, they could improve it over years.
Yeah.
So the next one is one that you have not been to one of these either,
No, I
have
have not been to one of these.
Which is a hell house.
So these were put on by Christian churches. Jerry Falwell is one of the most popular people that put one on. Supposedly he's the one that put it on first. And basically it is a anti-Halloween haunted house where it basically shows this is why you're going to hell. This is what's going to happen, because you're doing all these bad sins. And what they think the sins are is like abortion, adultery, and they go into graphic detail and showing these scenes to, like, you know, basically scare you straight, so to speak, and you know, change your evil ways so you don't go to hell.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically in like, and again, we're not going to get into a religious conversation and stuff like that, but basically a way to scare, like, I would say mainly targeted probably a younger audience, like teenage, yeah, into like not being a sinner for what they believe being a sinner is. Mm-hmm. I believe if I would have, because I had heard about these when I was a teenager, I think if I would have went to one, it would have probably fucked me up, because religion definitely was put in my face a lot when I was a kid, and like it gave me problems. And I feel like if I would have went to this and like seen these like realistic, like in-person representations of like hell and stuff like that, which, you know, I think that it would mess up a lot of like younger like kids and like younger teenagers and stuff like that. So I mean, now I'm almost more interested. I would be interested to see almost like a propaganda standpoint of like what it is they're trying to push. But yeah, have anybody? I've only ever like talked to one person that's been to one, and like they didn't really have much to say about it. I'm curious if anyone's been to a hell house, when they were younger or now, and what you think of it. Because again, we don't have any personal experience, but all I'll say is I am not the biggest fan of the idea. All right, and then we have, of course, what is super fun. We've already talked about it a lot. Dark rides.
Yay. So Dark Ride is basically a haunted house that you ride in like a little car through. Most popular right now is the ones that you shoot at things, like Boo Blasters on Boo Hill.
Which upsets me because, man, I wish, like, why can't we just have classic dark rides where you just ride around looking at scenes?
Yeah.
Please.
Very popular one is the Wacky Shack at Waldemere
That one's
Park.
a good one, yeah.
There's Nobles has the Haunted Mansion.
I really want to ride that one. That one looks fantastic.
Yeah.
We have not made it there, but it's not that far. One year we will make it there. I think
Yeah.
it's like 4 or 5 hours from me.
But it's basically just, it's just a haunted house, but you ride in a little car, and sometimes the cars like spin or do little wacky things while you're looking at stuff, and of course things pop out and make noise and stuff like that. Some even have actors in them.
Yeah, I haven't really been to any that have like multiple actors. I've been to like the one in Kennywood had like one, which actually frightened me quite a bit because I wasn't expecting it. I forget, was that a shooting one? I think the one at Kennywood is. I think it was a shooting one.
Yeah.
Because
he was dressed like one of the skeletons at the end or something like that.
So, I mean, and obviously, like we talked about earlier, the Haunted Mansion, of course, is a dark ride. Mm-hmm. Pretty much, a lot of things are considered dark ride. Like even like the Mummy roller coaster's part dark ride.
Yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean is considered a dark ride.
Most things at Disney are dark rides.
Yeah, most everything that's in Disney is that. Snow White, Mr. Toad's.
But for the purpose of this video, we're talking about more of the ones that are themed to haunted houses.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Mr. Toad's, I guess, because
Mr. Toad's.
To hell. It's
Mr.
a hell
Toad's,
house.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, there you go. That one definitely is a little themed towards that kind of thing. And most dark rides, even the ones that are more whimsical, do have spooky elements just because of the fact they are in the dark.
Yeah.
And there's usually something, not necessarily jump scare you, but to surprise you, to just make it entertaining. Because, Tower of Terror is also part dark ride. Well, at least the one in Disney World. Because it actually has like a dark ride segment before it yeets you. Yeah, I wish there was more dark rides. They're expensive, obviously, to make. Yeah. I wish that there were like, and I'm sure they exist in some capacity. I don't really know of any off the top of my head, but like a dark ride that was more of like a local haunt kind of thing. I think that would be so fun to just literally take like a really good haunted house, but make it like a ride version. Mm-hmm. But again, the throughput would be so hard to get people through that when you get lined. It'd be so hard to maintain that, expensive to build. Like it's just not realistic for most people. One that I would really like to do is it's like the Tootsie Railroad or something like that. That big haunted train.
Oh yeah,
that looks cool. It's basically it's more like haunted hayride, but you're riding on a train on tracks, and there's like scenes and like they board the train and stuff. That looks really cool. And then, of course, we have the Haunted Cornfield Maze.
Yes.
Not as many of these as I feel like I used to see either.
No. And, I mean, this is kind of like along the lines of like a trail or a forest, but it's in corn. And they're actually pretty fun. I thought I enjoyed going through them. There's not a lot of room a lot of times to put any kind of scenes in there.
Right.
A lot of times you just have like scare actors hiding in the corn.
It's definitely more or less of the elaborate. It's more about finding your way through something while getting scared. Yeah. I've also seen some that they just give you a flash. Like there's no scare actors. You just get a flashlight and just do it in the dark. Because we've only really done. I feel like we've only truly done one completely traditional haunted corn maze, and that was that one at the Beacon, I believe.
Beacon, yeah.
Because we've been to a lot that have elements of it, like Cheeseman Fright Farm, but it's really not a maze. It's more of like paths.
Yeah, and then of course we've gone to that other one, but it wasn't haunted.
Yeah, we've done multiple not
spirits.
Haunted corn mazes. Oh yeah, that one's fun.
Excuse me.
But yeah, I wish there was more of them. I would like to go to more actual mazes because so many of the ones that call themselves a corn maze, like aren't like Cedar Point calls their corn stalkers like basically they try to say it's like but it's not a maze. It's just a path made of corn.
Yeah.
There's no getting lost. But that one was fun. The only thing is, like, if you're someone that gets frustrated a lot, it might be bad. And also, like, it can get a little sketchy because the ground can be really uneven. You can't really see very much. And so I guess it's easy to, like, fall.
Yeah. And, it gets slick when it's wet. And it is kind of...
So kind of a pain in the ass, I assume, to maintain and just make sure people aren't doing asshole things. But yeah. So the next one, which is something that me and Kim love to go to, are home and yard haunts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time. This one is pretty much exactly that, just home and yard haunts. So it's basically taking a haunted house, but doing it at a home level. Of course, a really big one around us that we've done multiple videos on is the Haunted Yard in Parma.
Yeah.
Which is basically a full-scale production haunted house that's just in multiple people's backyards. What I would love, actually, but there's none that I know of around here, is you see those videos of, like, people that make little dark rides in their garage or, like, that. I'm like, oh, my God, I wish someone around us did that, because I'd love to go on those little homemade dark rides.
That would be fun.
They're, like, a minute long, but it just looks so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. And then I guess, like, the last real category we'll cover, which is probably the one that I like the least, is extreme haunted houses.
Yeah, so, of course, this is your ones where you have to sign a waiver, or it's completely blacked out and you have a flashlight and you have to go through it.
Yeah, and those are fine.
So, like, there's different levels of the extreme haunted house. The most famous is, of course, McCamey Manor.
Yeah, we even hate bringing it up in videos because
Yeah.
I personally don't think that's a haunted house.
I do not either.
I don't think most of these extreme haunted houses are haunted houses.
Yeah.
Now, like the blackout thing, that I think is an extreme haunted house.
Yeah.
To me, an extreme haunted house is just a haunted house, like a normal walk-through attraction where, yes, you can be touched, you can be grabbed.
Yes.
And it might be a little more dangerous than just a typical walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
What's not, to me, a haunted house is the ones where they're going to force feed you stuff, where they're going to trap you, where they're going to lock you away, they're going to waterboard you, torture you kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think that extremes are just something that's like, you can have like a touch pass or something like that, where it's just a little bit more spooky. You might get separated from your group a little bit, but when you start going into the realms of like force feeding somebody and doing things like that, that's just annoying, and that doesn't seem like fun to me at all.
Yeah, no, not at all. I'm trying to think. There's one that's really popular in California. I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's the 13th floor, 13th gate. Oh, neither. The 17th door.
Oh, yeah.
That's one that's become very popular, and now that one's definitely borderlining it. Like, it's not as bad as something that became a manor, because it is like, you walk through it, but each room has like a different thing that they do to like torment you.
Yeah.
Part of it sounds fun, part of it doesn't. I would never do it, because there's a lot of shocking involved, and we hate being shocked.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, some things sound really fun, like having you stand up against the wall of a room, and then it seems like people are jumping on the ceiling, but what's really happening is the whole room is starting to rotate around. That sounds like a lot of fun. But then there's other ones, they put you in an electric chair, and you basically get to... It's like you choose to zap the people around you, but because basically every time you do that, it makes you, technically, I think, like, makes you safe, but if everyone, like, doesn't do it, I don't think, like, anyone gets zapped or something like that. So it's kind of like this team effort, where it just depends on if you're with a bunch of assholes or not. So, like, interesting concept. There's a spot where they shoot you with pellet guns. But it is a fun twist, though, because you find out later that that's one of the floors is you get to shoot people with pellet guns.
Yeah.
So when you're getting shot, you're actually being shot by patrons at the beginning. So, like, that one, it sounds fun, somewhat.
Yeah.
But still, I don't know if I think that it's a haunted house.
No.
I think it's something else. It's like an interactive...
Yeah.
It's very
Like
on
an
the lines of, like, BDSM, in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I know a lot of them, like the blackout houses, there's a lot of things with, like, nudity, being wrapped in, like, saran wrap, like, having people, like, come up and, like, touch you with parts of their body, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And again, I just don't... How is that Halloween? How is that haunted house? I'm not saying that I'm completely against it being a thing, if that's what you're into, but I'm kind of against it being lumped into a haunted house as we know it, because then it begins to give people, when someone wants to claim, their extreme haunted house, then it becomes unclear what kind of experience you're about to get.
Yes.
Because the Scare House even did something like that with the basement before they moved locations. They don't do anything like that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had like a little torture basement that they used to have. We never did it, because again, that is... You'll probably never see something like that on this channel. The closest we've ever done, and it's still pretty far removed, is actually USS Nightmare.
Yes.
Because they did have, now it's completely optional, but they have an option where you get to see extra rooms, and they don't, like, force you to feed things, but they heavily encourage you to, like, drink or to, like, touch gross things.
Yeah.
Or then they will, like, draw on you and stuff, but nothing, like, crazy. No one put a cockroach in my mouth or anything like that. The grossest thing is they tricked Kim into taking a shot of vinegar. She thought it was whiskey. It wasn't.
Yeah,
It was vinegar.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
gross.
Kim did not like that very much. But I mean, yeah, and I guess something that like another like form of haunt is like I've been seeing a lot more of those like paintball type things or like laser shooting things.
Oh, like the zombie paintball and
zombie
stuff
paintball.
like that.
Just like they're not always paintball, but they're usually in some kind of like arcade type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because Nightmare Cleveland, they do that like once a year for the zombie shootout.
Not Nightmare, Fear.
Oh yeah, sorry, Fear. Did I say? Oh yeah, Fear Columbus.
It's Nightmare Combat.
Yeah, Nightmare Combat at Fear Columbus. Sorry. They have one that they do seasonally. Not Scary Farm actually has a haunted house. That does that.
Yeah.
It looks awesome.
That looks fun.
I've never really done one.
They have the zombie paintball things where you're actually on like a tractor trailer kind of thing, and you like shoot like while you're sitting down. That looks fun.
Joe, we've never done it. Zombies of the Corn, one in PA that has that.
Well, we did kind of shoot them. One year, Factory of Terror had like a shooting arcade with zombies, and we did do that. But that was like so many years ago. But,
that was quite a while ago.
But it was paintball, and like obviously like they're all geared up. They have like protection and stuff like that.
So it makes me feel bad because I know they're a real person. I'm just pelting with paintballs. And it just makes me feel weird doing that.
Yeah.
I'd be more okay with like doing the laser tag thing, walking through a house, because I know I'm not like physically hurting someone.
Yeah.
I'm just shooting a laser and the sensor's going off. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much all of the different types of haunts there are, and just a little bit of history. So there's a lot of history you can go into in like, and we didn't really touch on it much, but like, and what makes people I like being scared. I mean, I really think that it's like the same reason we like horror movies, a disassociation from reality.
Yeah.
Just that adrenaline rush. Same reason we like coasters. Some humans just really love almost dying.
Almost, yeah.
We love pretending to be in situations where we're going to die. And I mean, I think it's part of the brain where it's just, it's just like we find a lot of pleasure in like that risk, like, and that reward of surviving a harrowing experience. And that's why haunted house is so perfect, because you're pretty much almost 100% safe in most of these environments. I mean, anything can happen anywhere, you risk your life every time you drive to work in the morning, but like, it's same thing with roller coasters. You're for the most part safe, but it's that thrill it gives you. It's that adrenaline rush that just really makes you on top of the world, and so many people crave. And like, that is a reason that we do like it. It's a reason that anyone likes it. But then there's also that aspect of all these new age haunted houses where it really is like walking through a piece of art.
Yeah.
And really just kind of seeing all the work and dedication that people have done and put into these things. Yeah. So I mean, why do you guys like why do you guys like going to haunted houses? Which part is it that attracts you more? Is it the adrenaline? Is it like that, like the theming, the art, that kind of thing? Is it just nostalgia's sake? Is it a little bit of each? I mean, for me, it's definitely a little bit of each. But I think as I've went to so many, not too much scares me to my core anymore. Like, I scream a lot. Don't get me wrong. I get jump scared easy, but nothing like freaks me out or it like shooketh me. So for me, it is more of like going and seeing like the different worlds these people can create. That's why I like theme parks so much.
Yeah.
I love Universal, I love Disney, I just love seeing these like worlds that people create. And I've always liked fantasy and stuff like that. That's why I'm a gamer. I like video games, is because it allows me to interact with something that doesn't truly exist, but exists in some way.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think that probably does it for this episode. Make sure to comment below that the answer to the question and all the other things we asked. It helps us out a lot. Make sure you're liking the video and make sure you're ringing that notification bell so you don't miss all the upcoming videos we are going to have. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Hello, everybody.
Wow, that was somber.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to this remembrance.